Hello everyone. Today I'm going to explain wireless communication, which is the 7th chapter in electronics syllabus of Karnataka PU board. The syllabus includes introduction, that is basic block diagram of analog communication system and their functions, propagation of radio waves in different means, ionosphere, role of ionosphere in global communication and their applications. Generally, communication is defined as the exchange of information between two persons. It is mainly to convey our thoughts, ideas and feelings so that it can be verbal or non-verbal. But when we speak about electronics communication, a technical definition is required. That means communication is defined as sending and receiving information from source to destination. Different types of electronic communication: line or wire communication. This is a normal telephone system which usually like BSNL what they are having. Radio or wireless communication. Even television includes in this. So radio or TV communication system. This you are going to study under the chapter modulation and demodulation. Next two options are also wireless communication only, but different frequency range, different applications like this, different technology, hence they are put it under separate heading, that is satellite communication, fiber optic communication, like this. These two are modern communication systems and hence you are going to study these two under modern communication system. So let us focus on the basic things in the communication system. First of all, a short history to this communication system. In 1844, Samuel Morse invented telegraph. This is the first electronic means of communication. After this, within a span of time, there are many devices introduced in communication systems, such as in 1876 telephone, 1880 radio. Today we are having radio communication, telecommunication, satellite communication, optic fiber communication, mobile communication and internet. Nowadays even a small kid know what is mobile communication and what is internet. We need not have to elaborate that here. All these have increased our ability to share information from one another. Subscribe my channel for more videos in electronics. Press the notification bell icon for latest updates. Share this video with your friends because sharing is caring. Also, the knowledge will be enhanced if you share your information with your friends. Like and comment on this video. Let us move on to the inside topics of wireless communication. The first topic is basic block diagram of analog communication system. This consists of 6 blocks: source, transmitter, channel, receiver and destination. Another one is noise. Source, it is nothing but the information signal. Today I am speaking here through the microphone. The sound waves are converted into electrical signal. They are processed and then reaching to you through different means. So source is that sound waves which carries the information. Once it is converted into electrical signals, it is given to transmitter. The noise introduced in case if the strength is less, and then in case the energy has to be increased. These 3 parts will taken care by transmitter. That means transmitter process amplify and modulates the signal. Then it is given to a channel. Channel is the means or mode of propagation of wave. In case of wireless communication, channel will be air, normal space. Then transmitter should have a transmitting antenna. Receiver should have a receiving antenna to receive the signal from transmitter to receiver through this space. Receiver receives the signal, demodulates, filters, amplifies and then given to destination. For example, here I said about sound waves and microphone. Respectively, this side it will be loudspeaker, which converts the electrical signals into sound waves. In case if it is a camera here, which captures optical image into electrical signal, this side it will be monitor, which converts electrical signals into optical image. Now we'll come to noise. Noise is an unwanted signal which will have a frequency range within the audio frequency. That means noises exist between 20 Hz to 20 kHz. So separating noise from source will be very, very difficult. Once if the noise introduced into the channel, the receiver's efficiency will go. So we need to take care, at most take care that noise will be reduced as far as possible, since it is not possible to avoid completely. Then what is this noise? Noise has no meaning or sense. Hence it should be completely avoided in communication. You might notice when one person is talking, you can understand it clearly. But all of us speak together, nobody can understand anything. That is what is noise and its importance. Any unwanted electrical signal, we say it as unwanted because it's really unwanted, not required at all. So any unwanted electrical signal tending to interfere with easy and correct reception and reproduction of the wanted signal. In a simple way, any signal which adds up to the signal or the source and reduces its capability is termed as noise. There are two types of noise. Internal noise, which is due to the circuit operations. External noise. This is the external noise. Maybe due to the external sounds. When we are in the class, outside vehicle sounds, ambulance sounds, some other rain sound. These are all external, which is not in our hands. But if the ambience is made proper, external noise can be avoided completely. Whereas, for example, internal noise, I would like to give you one simple example. When you turn on the CPU of a computer, you could notice some sound is coming. That will be generated internal, that fan sound, other things like this. Noise can be measured in any system using the following parameters. One is signal to noise ratio, second one is noise figure, third one is noise temperature. What are these things? Signal to noise ratio. It is the ratio of the signal power to the noise power. So with these three letters, I can explain or define what it is. It is the ratio of signal power to the noise power. Signal to noise power ideally should be infinite because we expect there is no noise in the system. That means noise power should be 0. Hence it should be infinite. But practically infinite is not possible. Hence it should be a large value. Thus we define it in dB scale. So practically it is 10 dB to 50 dB. But this is not the proper parameter to measure the efficiency of a receiver, because we measure this at one point. It may be at input, it may be at output. But we cannot compare what is the noise level introduced. Hence, we move on to noise ratio. It is the ratio of signal to noise ratio at the input to the signal to noise ratio at the output of a system. That means we are measuring two times. One is at the input, one is at the output of a system, and then we are taking the ratio. Same thing, noise ratio, if we express in decibel or log scale, it is termed as noise figure. As already you are aware, it is very large value. We feel convenient to express it in log or decibel scale. Noise factor or noise figure is a measure of the performance of the receiver. A simple picture we have shown here. This is a signal. See how much clarity it is. This is the noise. It is in the same level. Once this noise is introduced into the signal will turn to be like this. Nowhere we get a proper information. Hence, noise has to be avoided completely. This is EM wave. Why we need to study EM waves here? Because when we use wireless communication, the only means to pass the signal from transmitter to receiver is through EM waves, because that is the wave which can travel in air with the speed of light. How do we generate EM wave? When an antenna is used for this purpose. When an electrical signal is given to antenna, from antenna this electrical signal is accelerated and given to space. This is converted into magnetic field, in turn converted into electric field, so that electric magnetic field they propagate with the perpendicular to each other in the direction of propagation. Hence EM wave is generated. So EM wave can be defined as it is a sinusoidal oscillation with time varying electric and magnetic fields perpendicular to each other and perpendicular to the direction of propagation. We'll not study much into this because this doesn't carry much marks in the PU syllabus. This is a small portion in the frequency spectrum, which is for VIBGYOR, visible spectrum. This is a table which gives what is the frequency range, what is it known as, which band it is, and what is it used for. 3 kilo to 30 kilo is termed as very low frequency, is used for long distance and point-to-point communication. 30K to 300K is a low frequency, it is used for navigation services. 300K to 3 mega medium frequency, radio broadcasting, police, that is walkie-talkie, ship-to-shore communication, etc. 3 mega to 30 mega is high frequency, it is used for international broadcasting, telephone systems, aviation, etc. 30 mega to 300 mega is a very high frequency used for radar, TV, FM broadcasting, short distance communication, etc. 300 megahertz to 3 gigahertz is ultra high frequency used for TV, radar, aviation. You could notice radar is there in both this and TV is there both here and aviation here. So different spectrum we use, according to that the uses are been mentioned here. So 3 giga to 30 giga is a super high frequency which is used in radar satellite communication. 30 giga to 300 giga extreme high frequency which is used for special purpose communication system, that is for experiment based. This is another diagram that I have given here. Low frequency spectrum, what are its uses? Radio frequency spectrum, where are we using this? Microwave, that is very high frequency, super high frequency signals, where do we use this? Propagation of EM waves. There are mainly three ways that EM waves can propagate in the atmosphere, that is ground waves, space waves, sky waves. Ground waves are called as surface waves or ground reflected waves. Space waves are called as direct waves or line of sight waves. Sky waves are also known as ionospheric waves. You can see with this single diagram we can explain all the three. Ground waves transmits from transmitter to the receiver on the surface of the earth. They are vertically polarized to avoid the electric shock, and ground waves travel only for a short distance because of absorption loss. Sometimes when ground wave hits the surface like sea or mirror reflecting surface, it reflects back. Hence, sometimes ground reflected waves are also called as ground waves. Then comes direct waves. Most of the time they are called as line of sight waves because they are directly reaching to the destination from source. Then next one is ionosphere or space wave, sky waves. They travel through the transmitter to the ionosphere. After having or experiencing total internal reflection, they are reaching to the destination, different transmitters. So we'll see these things again one by one. In case if this waveform escapes from ionosphere, again it becomes a space wave which is used for satellite communication. That is why in the previous table you could notice some applications were repeated. Ground waves. As I said, it is the radio wave transmitted along the ground or surface of the earth. Sometimes ground reflected wave also forms a ground wave. It is mainly for low frequency and mid frequency bands propagation. As I said, the strength of the radio signal decreases as it travels over Earth's surface due to energy absorbed by the Earth. Hence, normally it is vertically polarized to avoid the electric shock. Space waves. It is line of sight waves mainly used for very high frequency signals. It is also known as the direct waves. Sometimes ground reflected waves are also a part of this direct waves when they reflect from the surface of the earth and reaching the receiver. So this is about space waves. Space waves are the one which are used for FM radios. That is why it is reaching from transmitter to receiver directly. Hence it is called as direct waves. And that is why you might have noticed when you are traveling from one area to another area like Bangalore to Mysore, up to Ramnagar or somewhere, you could notice that there is a station coming from Bangalore. After that you could not notice. There will be lot of 2-3 channels will be mixing up and you could hear different voices. And near to Mysore there are different channels in the same name. The host will be different, the program will be different. In case if the program is same, then the same station they will transmit to the station, they will receive it and then they will retransmit again. Otherwise, all over the world, the same station cannot be possible in FM radios. Optical horizon and radio horizon. Optical horizon is the distance or the maximum distance visible to the naked eye. You might have noticed in a big open space, after a long distance, if you watch, you can see that somewhere earth and sky is meeting. That end point is called as optical horizon, above which we cannot see. It seems to be like earth and or sea and sky is touching with each other. That is the end, but that is not actually because of the earth's shape. Whereas radio horizon is the distance traveled by the radio wave. Radio wave will be from the transmitter. When it comes out, it will move like this and then like a parabolic shape it comes and hits the earth's surface little farther than the optical horizon, and hence radio waves distance is 4/3 times of that of the optical horizon. Sky waves, this is the main thing. Sky waves transmit through ionosphere. So here ionosphere plays a very important role. We'll see this one by one. Before that, we'll see what is ionosphere. UV rays from the sun causes the upper atmosphere to get ionized, resulting in a relatively thick but invisible layer called ionosphere. It extends from 50 km to 400 km above the Earth's atmosphere. Mid-frequency and high-frequency propagation are the main thing in this ionosphere. A small diagram I have given here. This is the troposphere, that is just above the Earth's surface. Above that, at the height of 50 to 95 km, D layer will be there. Above that E, above that F1 and F2. F1 and F2 are the two layers splitted during daytime, but during night it will form as a single layer as F layer. We'll see this one by one. This is another diagram given. Now, the main three parts of ionosphere are D layer, E layer and F layer. D layer is weakly ionized and has an average thickness of 10 km. It extends to an altitude about 70 km. It exists only during daytime and disappears at night. D layer is the main reason for very low frequency and low frequency applications. Next, E layer. It is also weakly ionized, but compared to D layer, it is little highly ionized. And it is above the D layer. Its average thickness is about 25 kilometers with an altitude of 95 to 100 kilometers. This also disappears at night, like D layer. Mid frequency and a partial, not all, partial, some portion of high frequency propagation is possible in E layer. Next, F layer. It is strongly ionized layer and is the layer present both day and night. And this is the main layer which is responsible for global communication. It extends from 160 km up to 400 kilometers. During daytime, it splits into two layers known as F1 and F2. But during night time, it combines into single layer known as F layer. Most of the high frequency waves are propagated through this F layer. When it comes to F1 layer, it is known as Kenley Heaviside layer with an average height of 200 km and a thickness of also about 200 km. Partial high frequency are reflected through this. F2 layer, it is known as Appleton layer, 300 to 400 km height, and the altitude or the thickness changes according to the season and the region. This is mainly because ionization depends on the sunlight, how the sunlight ionizes the atmospheric layer. It is the most useful layer in reflecting high frequency waves. Let us now understand some terminologies of this sky wave propagation. One is critical frequency. It is the maximum frequency, please note, maximum frequency of a radio wave that will be returned back to Earth after total internal reflection for a given layer. For each layer, critical frequency will be different. For D layer, E layer, F layer, like this. Critical angle. This is the maximum angle of incidence of a radio wave from the transmitter to the ionosphere, which gets returned back to the Earth after total internal reflection. Again, it is also for a given layer. Skip distance. It is the shortest. It should be minimum, but if you read, there should not be any confusion, so we can write it as shortest. These two are maximum, this is minimum. It is the shortest distance measured between the transmitting antenna and the first receiving antenna, measured along the surface of the Earth after ionospheric propagation. I'll show the diagram and explain once again. The last one among these things is skip zone or silent zone. Most of you have experienced over a mobile communication when you are having a conversation and walking somewhere at one particular place, or if you turn here and there, somewhere one particular place you won't able to hear or the voice will break up. Immediately you will tell, I can't hear anything. You move to the other place. So that is mainly because that is the area where a small place where no signal receives. It is a silent zone. It is skipped from the communication. Hence it is known as skip zone. What is it actually then defined as? It is the region around the receiving antenna. The person who is on the phone, that phone is a receiving antenna. It is the region around the receiving antenna within the skip distance where neither ground wave nor sky wave is present. Let us see this through a diagram. See, this is a ground wave which travels around the surface of the earth. Suppose if there is a ground reflected wave, it will come like this. It will travel like this, hits a sea water, ocean or a mirror, gets total internal reflected and reaches to the receiver. This is a line of sight, direct traveling from transmitter to receiver. These are the ones which are traveling through ionosphere. Again, this is a space wave through satellite communication we use. You see, this is the minimum distance or the shortest distance between the transmitting antenna and the first receiving antenna. This is called as skip distance. Skip zone, you can see it is in and around skip distance only. This is a skip zone near the skip distance or the receiving end where none of the waveforms are reaching. Ground waves, sky waves, line of sight waves, whatever you take, nothing is reaching here. So this zone is called as skip zone. Few more terminologies: single hop and multiple hop. You know very well the main principle of ionospheric communication is total internal reflection. And when a waveform is incident from a transmitting antenna, reaches to ionosphere, gets reflected, and suppose on the earth if it hits some reflecting surface, ocean, mirror, something like that, again it will experience a total internal reflection, reaches to ionosphere. Again one more TIR it will happen, it will reach to the other part. Like this, many a times if it having the same reflections, total internal reflections, then it can travel to a long distance. This is called as multiple hop, whereas single hop is from transmitting antenna to receiving antenna. Let us see this now. Definition: single hop is the maximum distance. You could notice single hop is the maximum distance, whereas skip distance is the minimum distance or the shortest distance. Other rest of the things are same. Single hop is the maximum distance between transmitting antenna to the first receiving antenna measured along the surface of the earth. As we discussed earlier, since F2 layer is very important, we have just given the value of it. Single hop distance of F2 layer is around 4000 km. Then coming to multiple hop transmission, a radio wave reflected back from ionosphere strikes the earth surface and gets reflected back to ionosphere. If this happens multiple times, it is called as multiple hop distance, as I explained through this diagram. Again you can notice skip zone is present here and there. Wherever near the receiver a small portion, skip zone will be there. Next comes to fading. You know very well, sometimes we say color faded, all those things. Even signal gets faded. That means there will be a fluctuation or variation in its strength. There are various reasons. When EM wave propagates through the space, it might experience a loss due to refraction, scattering, absorption, like this. So fading is the fluctuation or variation in the strength of a radio signal. Then different types depending on the phenomenon due to which this fading happens. But of course fading should be avoided or minimized to get a proper signal. The different types of fadings are interference fading due to interference of two signals, polarization fading due to polarization of the optic signals, absorption fading, skip fading, Rayleigh fading, Rassian fading, Nakagami fading, Weibull fading, etc. So fading can be reduced by using repeater stations. If you remember, I said if we want the same FM stations, we need to have a repeater stations there wherein they receive the signals from for example Bengaluru to Mysuru, they will receive that signal in different stations, different places. At each station probably 5 to 6 repeater stations. Then Mysuru also can have the same FM radio broadcasting there. Hence fading can be reduced by using repeater stations which boost up the signal strength to reach the receiving station. That's all about wireless communication. Thank you, one and all.